What's up everyone and welcome back to the channel. Now let's get into it. Michael Bisping picks Khamzat over Burns, and here's why. As we get closer to UFC 273 and the highly anticipated welterweight matchup between Khamzat Chimaev and Gilbert Burns, different pundits are now weighing in on the fight that could have title shot implications. Burns is a former title challenger and is 5-1 in the welterweight division since moving up from lightweight. Khamzat, meanwhile, is undefeated at 10-0. 4 wins in the UFC and has never seen the third round because of how dominant he's been in the cage thus far. Khamzat's hype train has seen many fighters come on board, from Daniel Cormier to Darren Till, and now you can put Michael Bisping on that list. Case in point, the count predicts that Khamzat will reign supreme on April 9th over Burns, and stated this in a recent video on his YouTube channel.
But you could say that I've been sold the hype. I'm just telling you, what he did to Li Jingliang just blew my mind. That was so impressive. Jingliang ain't no slouch. He's a tough guy with good skills and lots of experience. And Khamzat just picked him up. And he looked like he could have done whatever he wanted. As we know, he was talking to Dana White and stuff like that.
Bisping goes on to say that he believes Khamzat's confidence is what could propel him past Burns. As both are grappling experts, the count can't wait to see the world-class BJJ of Burns against the wrestling of Khamzat. Bisping also says that he simply believes enough in Khamzat to get the job done, and is going with the betting favorite to win this fight. Do you agree with Bisping in that Khamzat will come out of this fight with his hand raised? Or do you believe that Burns is going to turn up the heat on Khamzat and win? Did Ronda Rousey ruin her MMA legacy due to the way she left? Julianna Peña thinks so. Ronda Rousey lit the world on fire from 2012 to 2015 when she dominated the UFC women's division, finishing almost all of her fights in the first round either by submission or by TKO. At the time, Rousey was considered the greatest female mixed martial artist of all time. Then she ran into Holly Holm and then Amanda Nunes. She was knocked out by both fighters in spectacular fashion and never came back to fight after that. Now, current UFC bantamweight champion Julianna Peña is saying that despite all the accolades and wins Rousey has accumulated throughout her MMA career, because of the way she left the UFC, her legacy has been tainted. Case in point, she relayed her thoughts while on the MMA Hour talking to Ariel Helwani and stated this.
No, that's what I'm saying. She's kind of a joke in the MMA world now because what is the word? Sellout, like a little bit of a sellout there. Oh, wow. I mean, I guess I understand, right? It's like pro wrestling. It's fake. You get paid millions of dollars. I get it. But like for me, for the real for like you're the real deal, I would say that that's in the UFC.
While Peña did give credit to Rousey for being able to make millions of dollars and creating so much hype around women's MMA, ultimately, Rousey's MMA legacy is not one that is highly regarded among fighters. What do you think about Peña's comments about Rousey? Do you agree with her? Or do you believe that Rousey doesn't need to come back to avenge any of her losses? And do you even want to see Ronda Rousey fight MMA again? Gilbert Burns wanted to fight Khamzat Chimaev, and he explains why. Gilbert Burns foresaw that the UFC was going to match him up against Khamzat Chimaev sooner or later, and he had already texted his manager, Ali Abdelaziz, to say yes to any potential offer. Burns has been in the UFC for about 8 years at this point, being a veteran of the sport, having competed in multiple weight classes, and having fought for a title. Burns has a good idea about what the promotion could be thinking and the general direction they would want to go in terms of their fighters. Burns says he understands how the UFC operates and could already tell that Khamzat was on his way towards him or someone of his ilk in the Chechen Swede's next fight. Case in point, this is what he stated in a recent interview with TSN about it.
Before they offered me, I already called when he fought Li Jingliang. That was October 30. So after that, after the fight, I already texted Ali and say, hey, they're gonna offer me. I have a feeling you can say yes. I want to fight these guys. So before they even offer me the fight, I already say yes. And
Burns is currently the number 2 ranked welterweight in the UFC, while Khamzat is number 11. Even before Khamzat was matched up against Li Jingliang in October, Burns was set to fight against welterweight contender Leon Edwards the year before and also earlier in 2021 before COVID-19 scratched those plans. The fact that the UFC had even thought about putting that fight together for Khamzat's 4th fight should tell you something, and it certainly caught the eye of Burns. Now, Edwards is slated to take on welterweight champion Kamaru Usman later this year, while Burns and Khamzat will fight for the chance to potentially challenge the winner of the title fight sometime in the near future. But what do you think about Burns saying he wanted this fight and said yes to this even before Khamzat dismantled Li Jingliang? And who do you have your money on to win this fight on Saturday. Don't forget to take a second to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all of the latest fight news. Aljamain Sterling dishes on the first Petr Yan fight. The UFC 259 bantamweight title fight between Aljamain Sterling and Petr Yan ended with a DQ for Yan, and the belt was handed over to Sterling. But in the nearly 3.5 rounds before then, Yan looked like he was getting the better of Sterling, something that the Funk Master admits was happening prior to the illegal knee strike. The rematch has been 13 months in the making, but it's almost here, and come Saturday night at UFC 273, we'll finally get to see the conclusion of this year-long saga. Sterling, in the lead-up to the bantamweight title unification bout, is now saying that there was a reason he didn't really live up to his usual self in the cage prior to the disqualification last year. In a recent video on his YouTube channel, Sterling talks about what happened the day of UFC 259 in March 2021 and says he felt great in the morning, going out for his morning run, a strong 20 minutes in which he felt invincible. Then he says it all went downhill from there. This is what he stated exactly.
Just not eating the way I normally do right after, not putting the fuel back into my body to actually go a 25-minute pace for what I put out and the expenditure of energy. It was just way too much for what I put in back into my body after having that morning shakeout. So
Sterling says he might have simply gassed out really early in the day and was never able to fully recover properly for a 25-minute cage fight that he had to do later in the day. He says he went a little too hard in the paint in the morning during his run, didn't properly refuel, and it cost him the precious endurance he would have needed to take on the likes of then bantamweight champion Petr Yan, known for his motor and being able to outwill his opponents as the fight goes into the later rounds. Since that fight, Sterling has not stepped inside the octagon, opting for serious neck surgery instead, and he took the rest of the year to recover from that. Meanwhile, Petr Yan decided to stay more active and took on Corey Sandhagen for the interim bantamweight title, which he won handily by a unanimous decision back in October at UFC 267. But what do you think about Sterling's statements concerning what happened the day of UFC 259? The much-hyped Khamzat Chimaev is getting ready to fight Gilbert Burns in what's going to be his biggest test to date in the UFC. He's 10-0, 4-0 in the UFC, all finishes. In a new UFC promo video, he's issuing another stern warning to all of the other contenders in the welterweight and even the middleweight divisions. This is what he said. The people talk about top 10, top 5, doing these things. If somebody stands in my way, I'm gonna kill them. Don't stand in my way. I'm here, undefeated, undisputed. I'm the champ. I'm the king. I come for everyone. What do you make of Chimaev's statements here? And who do you have your money on for the Chimaev-Burns fight this Saturday?
That people talk about top, like top 10, top 5, doing these things, you know. If somebody stands in my way, I'm gonna kill him. No, don't stand in my way. I'm here, undefeated, undisputed. I'm the champion, I'm the king. I come for everyone. Now I can finish, I have 10 fights, 10 finishes. I have time to become the best fighter in the world. King is coming for you guys. Watch the king.
Conor McGregor talks WrestleMania absence. WrestleMania 38 took place this past weekend in the bustling AT&T Stadium in Dallas, Texas, and was an extravaganza like no other. With how much buzz the event created online and in the media, Conor McGregor is now sharing his reasoning with why he believes he wasn't invited to pro wrestling's biggest event of the year. In years past, McGregor hinted that he could one day move on over to the WWE and make even more money in the sports entertainment business. At the moment, he's recovering from a broken leg injury, but he believes that this wasn't the reason for his WrestleMania, quote, snub. The Irishman took to Twitter to share his theory on why he wasn't invited and posted this. Why wasn't I at WrestleMania? They all fear me, that's why. It remains to be seen if he'll ever step foot in the WWE, but he has been welcomed with open arms in the past by John Cena and Triple H, both WWE superstars. At the moment, McGregor is preparing for his return to the octagon, slowly getting back into fighting shape, and has relayed he's interested in fighting Kamaru Usman for the welterweight title. But what are your thoughts on McGregor saying everyone at the WWE fears him? Today's video was packed with some juicy stories from the fight world. What are your thoughts about what's going on in MMA? Don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel to see more videos just like this. See you next time.